sexual desires and its effects on awakening or enlightenment. And this understanding of sexual energy is really, really important in your spiritual path or getting awakened. Now, first, let's talk about the awakening, the person who is awakened, and how his state will be. Now, this example is for the person who has a logical thinking. So, for example, if you have physical intimacy with some person, or if you masturbate after you have a hormonal release, once you have the pleasure and once you are done with the bodily pleasure that you have or the lovemaking that you have, you get into a state where you have no more desire to activate in sex. So once you have that physical intimacy or masturbation, there's a movement, or after some time, you will have no more desire to masturbate or to have sex. Now, that's the state where an awakened person is. An awakened person doesn't feel any desire towards sex. So because he's awakened and he's in that state all the time, the person in general, after a certain period of time, maybe half an hour and 1 hour, again the sexual desire might pop up, and again you want to masturbate, or again you want to have the physical intimacy with your partner again. So there is a hop in between. So you have the desire to have sex, and then you have no desire to have sex, and then again you have desire to have sex. A normal person keeps on looping in this process, and it goes on and on until he dies. An awakened person comes out of this loop and be in a state where he's awakened and he has no more desire towards sex. He comes out of the loop of samsara, which means family, kids. He comes out of that loop. As you have physical intimacy with one person, or two persons, or three persons, as you go on having this physical intimacy, you need to understand the sexual energy that you have. And if you take Buddha, he had a lot of sexual encounters before he got enlightened, which means that he had sex with a lot of women, and he understood that there's no point in having sex anymore, and then he got out of it and got enlightened. So for you to understand all of that, you need to have physical intimacy. You need to understand the energy of sex to actually get into it and understand it and get out of it. Because the person who can understand the energy of sex can get out of that. So that's the first point, understanding the sex energy itself. Once you understand everything about it, you can easily get out of it. Because a person who has swum through it, who knows in and out of the sexual desires or sexual energy, understanding all of it, he can swim out of it. Let me talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages of actually understanding the sex energy itself. So some of the advantage of understanding sexual energy itself is like, the main advantage is like, you're not like those saints or monks who run away. You actually are trying to understand really what the sex energy is all about. You're not going to the forest, you're not going to the mountains, or you're not going to a monastery. You actually are dealing with a real life situation and understanding the sex energy by actually getting involved with your opposite partner. And after being involved many times, you understand there is no happiness coming out of it, and then you get out of it. Okay, so the advantage of that is you're totally free because you are actually understanding the energy of sex. Now the disadvantage of it is like, once you have multiple partners, it's actually pretty difficult to come out of it, because the body has a memory. Everything that you do, body has a memory. That's why, for example, if you run, swim, or even driving a car, the subconscious mind come into play, because the first time when you swim, or the first time when you run, or the first time when you drive a car, your body doesn't have any sense towards your action. But actually, after you drive the car for certain number of times, or for 3 months, 5 months, and once you run for 3 months, 5 months, and once you swim for a certain period of time, your body accumulates some memory. So that's why after a certain period of time, you can drive and actually be on the phone at the same time, because your body has memorized, and actually the subconscious mind has memorized everything. So you don't have to focus as you focus for the first time when you were driving, when you were swimming, or when you were running. It's same thing with sex. Like, when you get involved with multiple partners, your body remembers it, and the subconscious mind also remembers it. So it's actually hard to get out of it. But if you can understand this concept, so actually when you are getting involved with the sex, if you are trying to understand about it, and if you're authentic, and mostly importantly, when you actually have sex, it should be meaningful, it should be authentic, and the energy should be balanced, and it should be as pure as possible, so that you can come out of it very easily. Because body remembers everything. Body remembers each of your actions. If you hate, if you have some anger with that opposite person, everything kind of, it's a package of karma that you're building up. This is from Ramana Maharshi, and this is a very useful concept to actually use if you have some sexual desire and you're meditating. So out of number of thoughts that's been generated, if you can go to the source of the thought where it's being generated, it's actually being generated from you. So if you can go to that source of the thought, the thought kind of evaporates, or the thoughts kind of dissolve, because actually you found the root, and the root is I. You creating it and putting it out there, and you're creating series of thoughts through that. But this concept of I will help you to ease out those thoughts and dissolve those thoughts and destroy the thoughts. But this is a little advanced, and this can be used by the person who are in a state where they see the opposite partner, they get attracted, the thoughts come up, and they might also have the thoughts of other things popping up in their mind, but they can go to the source of the thought and kind of dissolve it. Now, the main disadvantage of this thing is like, when you are in a normal state and when you're using the concept of I, it's hard to dissolve. And at the same time, the sexual desires that you have can bubble up, and it can actually make you even more sexually attracted when you are in a normal state. When you meditate, you can let go the thoughts and be in a higher conscious state or in a conscious state. But when you're in a normal state, when you're thinking about that person, the desires pop up, the sexual desires pop up, and it can bubble up. So you need to be really careful. There's some disadvantage to this, but if you are in a state where you can actually understand, observe your thoughts, even when you're in a normal state, even when you're not meditating, the concept of I will really work for you. Concept of letting go of thoughts. So when you meditate, and this is for the people who meditate, and the people who meditate who can understand the letting go of thoughts, you already know what you're doing. A thought comes up, not gonna judge it. You're not gonna think it's positive, it's good, bad, or right. You're just gonna dissolve a thought. You're just gonna pass it. You're not gonna judge it. You're not gonna do anything with it. So if there is a sexual desire happening to you, or you're seeing someone, and then so you don't do anything with that thought. You just let it go. So that's one of the other concepts that you can utilize. So the advantage of this concept is, first thing is you need to meditate, understand how to let go the thoughts. And when you see a person, actually when you let go, nothing happens to you. Even the sexual desire might pop up, a thought might pop up, but you kind of let it go and nothing happens to you. And the disadvantage might be for a meditator who's just starting, or the intermediate meditator who really haven't learned how to let go the thoughts in a perfect manner. The sexual desire might bubble up when he's in a normal state, and that's a disadvantage. We've been advertised by a lot of identification. There's a natural tendency of how we get attracted to a person, but actually the media or the society that we live in kind of fluctuate our mind and direction in a different way, which means that maybe in 60s, I don't know, I'm just coming up with this one, but maybe in 60s and 50s, people usually get attracted with just the face. They don't need a bigger part of breast or bigger part of how to say that? Bigger part of the under area, or the booty that you call. Not getting a perfect name, but so certain part of the body is being advertised so much that you get attracted only if the person is having a good face and those parts of the body being a little huge, and then you get attracted. Now, there's a natural attraction that comes from within, and there is also an advertised attraction that comes from advertising or what you hear from other people. So you need to understand what's going on in here. And the person with logical thinking, cannot distinguish it. And then he just sees what others see, and logically the beauty of the women through others' eyes, through society's eyes, and he's going to choose the same women. So to get into deeper levels of identification, the person who meditates, the person who can let go the thoughts, of the person who has higher consciousness, when he sees a woman, he sees it as a skin, and he doesn't identify with anything, and it doesn't affect his mind or body. You know, as for a normal person, if he just sees a woman, and if he sees her face is pretty, or certain parts of her body is large, her boobs are large, or like there's a physical structure and it's beautiful, then he immediately gets attracted, and there's a series of thoughts that's been generated in his mind, and then he gets lost to that woman, to that beauty. Whereas the person who is on a meditative mindset is just a body, it's just the skin, and he actually looks into the real energy that's being produced by the other person instead of the outer energy that's coming out of the body. So this concept of identification will actually help you to understand the difference between the natural attraction that's coming from within you, or is it being advertised, or what's being programmed into your mind. So all these concepts are really helpful for you to come out of the sexual desires, and everything has its own advantage and disadvantage, and see what concepts helps you. And hopefully this video helped you, and thank you, and have a blessed day. Namaste.